I had an interesting question that came in this last month, and I just kind of saved it for tonight. And I thought we could bounce this off of you guys and the chat room here because it's something that I know it's we'll probably start a holy war or whatnot. But I had a viewer write in his in a comment on a video. He said ham radio is not a hobby. It's an indispensable, irreplaceable service. That kind of talk will encourage more of the amateur bands being sold to the highest bidder and or eliminated by tyrannical politicians. So,
wow.
So the big question is ham radio a hobby or is it a service?
I'll let you guys go first.
I'll go last.
You go last.
Okay.
I'll start things off. Well,
right. I'm
going to be, ham radio was a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I think, at the end of the day, we're going to end up with that. But I'm going to start off being a little pedantic here and then, and say this, ham radio is a hobby. Amateur radio is a service. And if you're gonna refer to what we do on the air as a service, we want to call it the amateur radio service, as defined by the FCC in Part 97 of their regulations. If we want to have fun and be jocular on the air, ham radio is a hobby. So, I don't know. Do you want to kick this cat, Joe?
I did research.
Oh boy. Yeah.
For the book of Genesis, FTC Part 97.1. The rules and regulations in this part are designed to provide an amateur radio service having a fundamental purpose as expressed in the following principles. A, recognition and enhancement of the value of the amateur service to the public as a voluntary non-commercial communication service, particularly with respect to providing emergency communications. Okay, that's nice. B, a continuation and extension of the amateur's proven ability to contribute to the advancement of the radio art. Complete polar opposites, right? C, encouragement and improvement of the amateur service through rules which provide for advancing skills in both the communication and technical phases of the art. Again, they're talking about the art there. Expansion of the existing reservoir within the amateur radio service of trained operators, technicians, and electronics experts, which sounds more like a service. And continuation and extension of the amateur's unique ability to enhance international goodwill, which is kind of really neither. Now, realistically, is the government looking for trained operators, technicians, and electronic experts anymore out of amateur radio operators? I mean, that seems like something of a bygone era when people got drafted. Oh, you got a ham radio license? Well, you're going to be a radio operator now in the Air Force. That I don't know if that necessarily translates into today. Not just because we don't have a conscription service, but because I think that there's been such a divergence between emergency communications and amateur radio. Even people who are in ARES and RACES and get all their ICS and everything else taken care of, really, a day after, and I've been in ARES RACES for 6-7 years now. Things are really starting to go apart. And Michael, you've been an emergency coordinator for how long now?
Plenty of years.
Right. It's just getting to the point where it's like at some point in time, I don't see amateur radio going to be in some of those emergency plans anymore. I just think that it's so different now, and that especially in law enforcement, they don't want anyone else in there. They really don't. And I'm not going to say good or bad or why they want to do that. That's their own thing. Almost everyone's now encrypted. Remember the old days, everyone ran analog and, we all listened in. Nowadays, everything's P25 encrypted, and they're looking for more ways to get it private and secure. And I just don't know where we're going to be in that. The league is doing a lot. They just hired a new director of emergency communications. I just announced that this week.
Yep.
And, the league is putting a lot into that because of what we sell ourselves as. And I'm going to say this, we sell it as a service. Okay. In reality, push comes to shove, how many amateur stations are going to be ready to help out when the proverbial you-know-what hits the fan? I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just going to say that on paper, we're a service. I don't know. I would personally say that this is my hobby. And, if I'm available to help, and I do help, we do storm spotting, we do areas and stuff. But if push comes to shove, I don't know where I'm going to be.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I personally don't think I'm going to survive the apocalypse.
Yeah.
I'm a big fat chubby guy. I'm the slow guy running from the zombie horde. So, I say that selling ourselves as an emergency is what we do to protect our spectrum, but in reality, I question it. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave, you
I think
give her a kick.
I think there's a small percentage of amateurs that are very public service oriented. They're still practicing handling traffic and networks, and they're going out and storm spotting and things like that. But is it 50% of the amateurs? Certainly not. Is it 10%? Probably not. I think the last thing I did that would really qualify as public service was back in the Vietnam War. I ran phone patch traffic between soldiers that were on these ships that talking to grandma, with the phone patch. That was 50 years ago. So I don't know. We use it to justify our hobby. I think is
Yep.
pretty.
I agree with you 120% there. We use it a lot to justify our hobby. But the question is, put your money where the mouth is, and that's something we're gonna have to do at some point in time.
Yeah. So I just threw a poll out there. We'll let that run for a few minutes and see what our viewers think. But I do have a little bit of a few of the comments that I've starred here. Let's see. Yeah, Scout 75 hobby can contribute to public service in a minor role. I think you're spot on that. It's certain, like I said, it's many things to many people, but first and foremost, I think, even though we're listed as a service, it is a hobby. It's an avocation. Brent says it's a hobby until the need is there to serve the needs of the public. We absolutely can put our skills to use when there is a time of need. Tommy says eating food will keep you alive, and it can be fun to eat too. So a little philosophical there.
And some people have a little hobby farm, right? Just this couple weeks ago, Michael and I were going through our club archives, and there were logs of racing nets that said "Do not destroy." Like these were important government documents from the 50s and 60s. We tossed them. Probably because there was so much stuff that it just there was no reason. And that was from the 50s. There was a mindset from the 50s and 60s that we need to have all this documentation. Well, Aries doesn't exist until there's a national emergency anymore. Everything we're doing is under a non-governmental ARRL. It's really gotten away from that. So I read off those 5 statements from 97.1, and I think 1 and 4, they're a lot weaker than what they used to be. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, Joe says, "Yay, races!" And Joe also says, "I think the service aspect will come back into vogue," and it very well may. It's hard to say. I know, you think of it on a public safety standpoint, a lot, your local police and fire department, emergency management, sheriff's department, all have backup systems now. If they're using AT&T's FirstNet redundant cellular networks, we become less of a need in that role. So if we're going to provide emergency communications, it may be different than what we're expecting. It may not be standing at the shelter or shadowing a public official or something like that. It could be filling sandbags or something of that nature that may not even be radio related at its core. So ham radio is a hobby. It should be lend to the service of the community when requested. And I think maybe as a key takeaway is that's what it is. It's it's a hobby, and it's a great way for us to practice our communication skills. And as you said, Joe, when 9/11 or Katrina or other mass scale event like that, the people that stepped up and were the ones that were able to serve were the ones that knew their equipment and knew their limit, knew what they could do with it, and started, they were hobbyists that started providing a service. So I think you're absolutely right. So it's get out there, use your equipment, learn, know it inside out, have fun with it. And when the need comes, you'll be ready. So let's look at the poll quick, and then I think we're pretty close to the end here. So and poll results coming up. Ham radio, a hobby or service? 94% say hobby, 5% say service, with 34 people voting. So there you go. We have the answer to this month's burning question. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the questions. If you keep sending them, we'll keep answering them. Feel free to leave your questions and comments down in the comment area below. I'll filter through them, and who knows, yours may end up on our next Your Questions Answered live stream. Our Q&A live streams happen on the first Thursday of the month, starting at 7:00 p.m. Central Time. I hope to see you there. For more articles and information, along with a full line of VHF and UHF antennas for sale, please check out my website at www.jpole-antenna.com. Your support of this channel drives the production of future videos. Check us out on Patreon. Patrons gain access to exclusive content, and our patrons help keep the mission alive. That's over on patreon.com/KB9VBR Antennas. Well, give us that thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if it's your first time here. That's your best way to be notified when a new video is released. I'm Michael, KB9VBR. Have a great day, and 73.